You are now listening to the smooth, mellifluous sounds of Red's Room Podcast. Enjoy.
Welcome to episode number 32 of the Red's Room Podcast. I'm your host, Red.
And I am your co-host, Jake.
And today we are talking about the two Babylons. As always, our references are in the episode description. And we encourage you to check those out.
Yeah, check them out. Verify us. Make sure we're not telling stupid lies.
Right. We do talk some shit, but we really research this stuff.
Yeah, we try.
We try our best. So, I'm going to read a paragraph here to give you guys some insight. We got a dense subject today, but is it a juicy one?
Definitely.
Okay. Originally, a pamphlet published in 1853, The Two Babylons, or the Papal Worship Proved to be the Worship of Nimrod, is Hislop's most famous work. In this book, he argues that the Roman Catholic Church is nothing more than a pagan cult, with roots in Babylonian mystery cults, which have a bank of secret knowledge only available to those who have been formally accepted into the cult. Roman Catholics, Hislop argues, are descendants from early Christians who adopted the Roman religion, descended from the worship of Semiramis, the wife of the founder of Babylon. By discrediting the true Christianity of Catholics, Hislop hoped to bolster the legitimacy of the Protestant and Scottish Reformants. Students of theology and those interested in the complex history of Christianity will find Hislop's arguments provocative enough that they may be moved to further research of their own. In a nutshell, that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and one thing that fucking you did on the previous, pick up that book.
Yeah. I have the
Show
book
them what's
here.
going on. Yeah.
This is it. The Two Babylons.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a sweet hardback book I lost, but this is it, man.
Yeah. It's definitely a good book, a good read. And
It's a hard read.
Definitely a hard read.
If you didn't hear it, it was first a pamphlet in 1853. So
Yeah.
not only is it like scholarly dense with information, but you have that older style of language. Of
And
English.
I don't know if any of y'all had listened to it would be 2 episodes ago, The Mushroom and the Cross. A very dense, hard subject to cover, but a good one, definitely.
It's the sacred mushroom and the cross, okay?
The sacred.
It's so sacred.
And yeah.
But yeah, this kind of, it's similar in some ways.
Yeah, definitely reading it, and kind of the same situation. I gotta call myself out here with the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. I don't even think I got halfway like I did with the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. I maybe got about a third of the way through the book, and it definitely is a good read or good listen, but it's tough to follow along through. But
It is.
there is some good insight, some good info going on here, and big shout out to Hislop with the work he did here.
Awesome work. It's
Definitely.
amazing. Yeah. I did read the book, but it was like 15 years ago, so I'm a little rusty on it, but I did some catching up.
Yeah, did some catching up, and I would definitely recommend the book to others. But let's get Let's get into it. Let's cover this.
Let's talk about Alexander first.
Okay.
Alexander was born and raised in Duns, Berwickshire in 1807. He was the son of Stephen Hislop, who died in 1837, a Mason by occupation and an elder of the Relief Church. He was for a time parish schoolmaster of Wick, Cathans. In 1831, Alexander married Jane Pearson. He was for a time editor of the Scottish Guardian newspaper. As a probationer, he joined the Free Church of Scotland at the disruption of 1843. He was ordained in 1844 at the East Free Church, Arbroath, where he became senior minister in 1864, and he died of paralytic stroke in Arbroath in 1865 after being ill for about 2 years. So that's his
R.I.P.
life in a paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're going to get into his book. So, the two Babylons. I'll read this first paragraph. Hislop builds on the pan-Babylonian school of hyperdiffusionism, which was common in the 19th century, to argue that classical and ancient Near Eastern civilizations took its inspiration from Babylon. From this, he derives the argument that the mystery religions of late antiquity were actually offshoots of one ancient religion founded at the Tower of Babel, which, if you are an avid Bible reader, you will remember that after the Great Flood, everyone spoke one language, and they decided to build a tower to heaven called the Tower of Babel. And it was at that tower that God split the languages so they couldn't understand each other, and they would have to fulfill God's will and spread out and fill the earth.
Yeah, they had to disperse and build out the earth, and
hence the meaning of the name Babel.
Yeah, get shit done. It is
because they couldn't understand each other.
Exactly.
I did have a couple definitions here.
Okay.
Thanks for that, by the way. So it said that he builds on Pan-Babylonian. So I got a definition of that. Pan-Babylonianism was the school of thought that considered the cultures and religions of the Middle East and civilization in general to be ultimately derived from Babylonian myths, which in turn they viewed as being based on Babylonian astronomy, often in hidden ways. And then it said that was Pan-Babylonian school of hyperdiffusionism.
Big word.
So, I have the definition of hyperdiffusionism, because if you're like me, you had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea.
That is a pseudo-archaeological hypothesis that postulates that certain historical technologies or ideas were developed by a single people or civilization and then spread to other cultures. Thus, all great civilizations to engage in what appear to be similar cultural practices, such as the construction of pyramids, derive then from a single common progenitor. According to proponents of hyperdiffusionism, examples of hyperdiffusionism can be found in religious practices, cultural technologies, megalithic monuments, and lost ancient civilizations.
It's funny how the pyramids always fucking come up, dude.
Yeah.
They're talking about OP monuments, of course.
I get what they're saying, though. So they're saying that everyone learned everything from one source.
Mm-hmm. And it gets dispersed.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And from what we've been finding about Samaria, like everyone, everything came from Samaria. It's insane,
dude. The whole everything came from Sumer is just like that was like almost a just shell shock, like crazy moment for me, especially doing the last podcast on the Epic of Gilgamesh, because I had that seed planted with the two we did before with the sacred mushroom and the cross and the ape theory, the stoned ape theory.
Yes. Yeah.
How back to back to back, and now with this one as well, we have that connection with Sumer. And once again, like I said on the last one, they were super ahead of their time and just very smart people, man. Like, I can't imagine what info they had,
no doubt,
to them, and what they were able to come out with it is just crazy.
100% agree. For being the first
exactly
civilization, they seemed pretty advanced.
Like, they were like the ants, and they became like fucking OP
no doubt
humans. But man, big respect to the Sumerians, just in general.
They were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got one more paragraph here.
Let's do it.
Here's the summary of the book. or not summary, but some details about the book.
Yeah.
The Two Babylons heavily relies on Austin Henry Layard's publications of his excavations at Nineveh, which had only been just discovered in 1851. This gave his work an appearance of being well researched at the time of its publication. For example, Hislop linked the name of Easter with Aster, the Phoenician fertility goddess, by citing Layard's recent discovery of Aster's Assyrian name Ishtar, which Hislop took to be identical to Easter. So, interesting.
Yeah. Kind of an Epic of Gilgamesh connection there.
Yeah.
Ishtar.
And it reminds me of the sacred mushroom and the cross, with him finding so many similarities in things through etymology and through the names of things.
We definitely have the idea of things being lost in translation.
Yeah.
Again.
And I talked about this with Jake. I don't know enough to know if those similarities are legitimate or if this is,
of course,
if this is like Ancient Aliens on the History Channel.
Exactly. I was
with
just
him
gonna say.
just making crazy connections. But to me, these sound like they make sense. But maybe that's because I don't know enough about these languages.
Like, definitely.
So I'm gonna,
I feel like we have to
say
again that we're not smart enough to know for sure. I don't know if anyone is, but we are definitely the lower end of the qualification level. But
yes,
but
I will say
I can see it.
With Hislop, though, I think there are a lot of similarities between these things, and it's not just etymology.
I totally agree.
In the Epic of Gilgamesh, they had the story of the flood, which seems to be like the story of the flood in the Bible.
With Noah.
And there are similarities there beyond words. It's the story itself is similar.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little more legitimacy here. I don't know. Again, not a scholar, just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think there's a little more.
Once
I find it
again,
interesting.
We are just two brothers just picking some fun topics and just trying to delve into it. But
hey, if anything, you just listen to two idiots smoke some cigars and talk about it.
Yeah. Smoke some cigars, have a few drinks, and we'll delve into whatever you want to fucking delve into.
Let's get into this first big topic of the book.
Definitely a big topic.
And that is the Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read some paragraphs here on this one. So this first one is from the book. If there be this general coincidence between the systems of Babylon and Rome, the question arises, does the coincidence stop here? To this answer is far otherwise. We have only to bring the ancient Babylonian mysteries to bear on the whole system of Rome. And then it will be seen how immensely the one has borrowed from the other. These mysteries were long shrouded in darkness, but now the thick darkness begins to pass away. All who have paid the least attention to the literature of Greece, Egypt, Phoenicia, or Rome are aware of the place which the mysteries occupy in these countries, and that whatever circumstantial diversities there might be, in all essential respects, these mysteries in the different countries were the same.
Yep.
Now, to unpack that dense paragraph, we're talking about the mysteries, which me and Jake, we've talked about in some older podcasts before we had video. But the mystery schools and the mystery religions around the schools were very interesting, and they were in Egypt and Greece that we know of, Rome by extension from Greece, but Phoenicia I didn't know.
Okay, that's a new one there. And
so these were secret religions, basically.
Weren't you saying too? We were chopping it up maybe like a week ago or something about this, that a lot of these mystery schools you were only allowed to go to one time.
I know that for sure of the ones in Greece and Rome.
So we're not saying that over all of them, but it's like some of them you got one shot to go through this fucker, and
it was more of an experience. It was a thing you were to do once in your life.
I feel like
through it.
It's not just an experience, and I guess maybe I overuse this word too many times, but like kind of some sort of an enlightenment, kind of.
I would. Yeah, totally.
You know,
I totally see what you're saying there. And in Egypt, it was a huge part. Excuse me. It was a huge part of their religion.
Mm-hmm.
They had an exoteric and an esoteric religion, and it was a huge part of the inner esoteric religion was the mystery schools.
dude, I would fucking love to go to one. Like, once again, I'm bringing it up. Just drinking, like, if they have like the ergot wine or like the psychedelic alcohol, and you have like a shaman, like teacher, bring you through these stages of enlightenment or teachings or whatever it is. I can almost guarantee that it was just a 1 in a million experience, you know?
It sounds, yeah, you know, me and Jake have talked about this. I've told him to, like, if we ever got crazy big, I want to bring back a mystery school. I think it would be.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Fucking cool. That would be fucking cool.
To find some real experts on this subject.
Exactly.
That could really bring some authenticity to it. And
yeah, I was just going to say,
it's amazing.
We're not smart enough for that, but it's at least me. But there is definitely some people out there, like...
I'm just smart enough to know it's important.
Oh, definitely. I feel like mystery schools maybe have shaped a lot of humanity, or just people in general, just changing ideologies, or just making people smarter. But
no doubt,
it is hard to say. But
so I'm gonna reel this back in. We like to get out there.
Yeah, it's reeled back in.
That was just the beginning paragraph under this section. So we haven't even got to what this has to do.
Yeah, and this is the Trinity, right?
Yeah. Oops. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, to that. Real nice. Okay. The unity of that one only God of the Babylonians, there were 3 persons. And to symbolize that doctrine of the Trinity, they employed, as the discoveries of Layard proved, the equilateral triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Just as it is well known, the Roman Church does to this day. There's a footnote here. Layard's Babylon and Nineveh. The Egyptians also used the triangle as a symbol of their triform divinity. In both cases, such a comparison is most degrading to the King Eternal, and is fitted utterly to pervert the minds of those who contemplate it, as if there was or could be any similitude between such a figure and him who hath said, "To whom will ye liken God, and what likeness will ye compare unto him?" Some dense reading already, man.
Definitely some dense reading. And one thing I wanted to touch on is there is multiple names for the Trinity. I want to say you said the divine... I can't remember what you said. But there's multiple names for the Trinity.
No doubt. Yeah, there is.
In the book, I thought it was a dope title. The Triune Divinity.
Oh, I said Triform Divinity.
The Triform.
Is that what you're thinking of? Yeah. Very similar.
Very similar. And when I was listening to the audiobook version, the reader said Triune Divinity, and I was like, yo, that's got to be something crazy. And I Googled it,
right,
and the Trinity just popped up.
It's a Triforce.
Yeah, I want to say it's the same exact thing, but I love the title of, like, the Triune Divinity or the Triform. It
does sound cool.
It is a dope title. And like you said, the Triforce, I wonder if they got inspiration from the Trinity. I feel like they definitely
totally
did.
Like it.
And if you do Google the Trinity on Wiki, for example, it pops up like the triangle, with one being the Father, one being the Son, and one being the Holy Spirit. Like, it's a whole triangle, and it's a pretty dope concept, in my opinion.
It's an interesting concept.
Most of y'all are familiar with that, but I think it's...
For those who aren't.
Exactly. I think it's important to delve into.
And what's interesting is what he was saying in these dense subjects is that, dense paragraphs here, is that the Trinity has been around longer than Christianity.
That's the bombshell right there for you. It is a crazy concept that it was around before, but also if we think about the other stuff we went through, maybe not that crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
When you start learning more about these things.
And once again, believe what you want to, but man, there is some crazy background evidence material that surrounds this.
Yeah, we got some of that for you today.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read this last paragraph, I think you have some stuff to share on this subject.
Okay.
Too. So the papacy, which that has to do with the Pope. If you don't know, all the terms of papal, papacy, things like that, that means it has to do with the Pope. So the papacy has in some of its churches, as for instance in the monastery of the so-called Trinitarians of Madrid, an image of the triune God with 3 heads on one body. The Babylonians had something of the same. Mr. Layard, in his work, has given a specimen of such a triune divinity worshipped in ancient Assyria. So he's talking about a specific thing here, the 3 heads. It's been around much longer than it was in the Catholic Church. It was in Assyria, which is very close to Babylon, which Babylon came from Sumer. So
Once again,
we're getting very closely related to them, and yeah, that's what I had on the Trinity. But I know you got some more details
on the Trinity.
And its relation to Egypt, if that helps you. Did
What?
you not? Didn't you have something on the Trinity of Osiris?
Okay. All right. This is where we're getting to here.
Yeah, I think, drop that.
So, just in general, just to set this up a little bit, this book makes a lot of connections between previous religions and maybe paganism to Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to bring up some Isis and Osiris connections to the Bible. So just a little background on we're going to start with Isis. This is according to Britannica. Isis was initially an obscure goddess who lacked her own dedicated temples, but she grew in importance as the dynastic age progressed, until she became one of the most important deities of ancient Egypt. Her cult subsequently spread throughout the Roman Empire, and Isis was worshipped from England to Afghanistan. She is still referred by many pagans today. As mourner, she was the principal deity in rites connected with the dead. As a magical healer, she cured the sick and brought the deceased to life. And as mother, she was a role model for all women. Isis was most often represented as a beautiful woman wearing a sheathed dress and either a hieroglyphic sign of the throne or a solar disk as a cow's horns on her head. Occasionally she was represented as a scorpion, a bird, a sow, or a cow. So now, if we're going to get into the connection to Christianity, I found an article. The Sydney Morning Herald had an article about it, and this was a dope excerpt from that article. According to Egyptian mythology, Isis was the spiritual mother of every pharaoh, but experts say her influence is still seen in the Christian icons of the faithful wife and the loving mother. A goddess of the moon and rebirth, she gave birth to Horus, the god of the sun. And if we want to infer to that more, some people connect this to the Virgin Mary, which I'm not going to say is, fully, but I can understand the connection. I
think it's a pretty good connection, actually.
Yeah, I can understand where Christianity kind of, if we are going to identify with this being real, I can see how that happened.
Yes.
So I'll move on here. This is a little, I'm going to get into Osiris next. This is coming from Wiki, a little background on Osiris so you know who this god is. Osiris is the god of fertility, agriculture, the afterlife, the dead, resurrection, life, and vegetation in ancient Egyptian religion. He was classically depicted as a green-skinned deity with a pharaoh's beard.
Did you say green skinned?
Green-skinned deity. This is according
Did you
to
say skid or skin?
skinned with an N. This is according to Wiki. So if I'm bullshitting...
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
If I'm bullshitting, check out the Wiki.
He's a reptilian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, by the way, when I was researching this, I did get that.
Did you get that vibe?
There was not even that I got that vibe. There was a couple articles that I saw about that. So you're not crazy thinking about that.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay, the Pharaoh's beard.
Sorry to derail.
No, you're good. You're good,
Interesting,
man.
though.
Partially mummy wrapped at the legs, wearing a distinctive Atef crown and holding a symbolic crook and flail. He was one of the first to be associated with the mummy wrap. When his brother Set cut him up into pieces after killing him, Osiris's wife, Isis, who we touched on just before, found all the pieces and wrapped his body up, enabling him to return to life. Osiris is widely worshipped until the decline of ancient Egyptian religion during the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire. So now I'm going to go into the Osiris connection to possibly Christianity. This is according to Free Grace International. Once again, we'll have the article down below for you. The goddess Isis, Osiris's wife, searches out the pieces and reanimates her dead husband Osiris's body, like we said before. She has sex with him and gives birth to Horus. Horus. Appreciate that. No.
Yeah,
Definitely help me out here. The Christ myth circles. This is cited as one of the sources, plagiarized sources maybe, for Jesus's virgin birth. So I personally think that's kind of a bombshell to me. Once again, I'm not saying that there is 100% facts. I'm not saying there's even like a little bit of it. I just think there is maybe a little bit of validity to point to
I think there's
those
more than
connections, you know? I just don't want to, offend anybody, Fucking, we all have our own beliefs, but I think
don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems very interesting. So
yeah, I think those
Isis, Osiris, and Horus.
Exactly.
We have another trinity.
It
predates Christianity with a miraculous birth.
Exactly. Osiris was supposedly dead, and Isis brought him back via a mummy, I don't know.
The mummy thing is cool.
Yeah, the mummy thing
sounds cool.
It is super cool via a mummy, I don't know, fucking
like Skeletor.
just ritual, I
seems...
guess you could say. And Isis gives birth to this man, and there is kind of some connections with the Virgin Mary and Jesus
in a miraculous birth. It's
exactly.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
And once again, I'm just taking a couple things and running with it. I'm not saying I believe in it, but it is a very interesting connection that is made.
I think of back to our episode on occult theocracy.
Yeah.
Talking about the
first one.
Moses possibly took his religion from Egypt and rebranded it, kind of.
By the way, that fucked me up for a while, dude.
I think it kind of ties to it, though, doesn't it? Like,
taking your own
If
version.
he did kind of take that religion and then, make his own version of it to make his own nation, wouldn't he...
Exactly. Why wouldn't he take from that?
It kind of just...
Even
goes together.
Let's say, doubt in mind. Let's just say hypothetically that is true, right? Let's just say that is true.
Which we don't know if it is.
Which obviously we don't know.
This is just an exercise.
Maybe that's not a bad thing either, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
And exactly, maybe you take some things from here, a little bit of personal opinion, and you make your own shit, and your own shit also identifies with other people.
Right.
And, so once again, not saying that that's facts, but I just think it was a dope connection. The Isis and Osiris, especially, I think their names are just dope.
Yeah. Also, in researching this book, I found out that when cultures back then merged together, they would often merge their religions.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't a bad thing, right?
It wasn't crazy. But in the time of Rome, when the Christianities were there, they would refuse to merge their religion, and it became a huge problem because everybody else would just merge their religion with the other one. We would adopt some things. You would add, like, I researched.
Dude, it almost sounds like politics.
Yeah, even the Vikings, when they heard about Christianity, they were like, okay, cool. They just added Jesus to their roster.
Add a couple things.
They just added
to the
him
roster.
right on there.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, cool. Yeah, he can be up there with Odin, and and they just added him and just merged him in. But in Rome, the Christians weren't merging. And that was a big problem with all the persecution. So I thought that was interesting, and it just kind of led a lot to how so many of these different ancient religions just kind of go together. Like the Sumerian ones, the Babylonian ones. You can see the similarities of them in the Roman and the Greek ones. Like you can see it all just kind of, they got... This god, he's got kind of a little different name, but it's kind of similar, and he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And the story's kind of similar.
Definitely.
It makes sense. It's like, you have this religion, we have this religion, your god is of this, well, we have a god of that too. And they just kind of smush the story together. And now there's more lore to this guy,
And there's more connections than that too.
It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my opinion. But
no, I think that was a you expressed that very good.
Let's continue on with the book though. The next section I have, so we went into the Trinity. There's some similarities of the Trinity. The Trinity existed before Christianity.
Yeah, we went to Isis and Osiris.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Christmas. So I got a quote here from. Actually, now pretty much everything's going to be quotes from the books. So I'm going to read you a paragraph here from the book. It says, "The festivals of Rome are innumerable, but 5 of the most important may be singled out for elucidation. Christmas Day, Lady Day, Easter, the Nativity of St. John, and the Feast of the Assumption. Each and all of these can be proved to be Babylonian. And first, as to the festival in honor of the birth of Christ, or Christmas, how comes it that the festival was connected with the 25th of December? There is not a word in the scriptures about the precise day of his birth or the time of the year when he was born. What is recorded there implies that at what time soever his birth took place, it could not have been on the 21st of December. At the time that the angel announced his birth to the shepherds of Bethlehem, they were feeding their flocks by night in the open fields. Now, no doubt, the climate of Palestine is not to serve as the climate of this country, but even there, though the heat of the day be considerable, the cold of the night from December to February is very piercing. And it was not the custom for the shepherds of Judea to watch their flocks in the open fields later than the end of October." So, we're getting at here that Christmas, Jesus' birth, biblically, if we're going with it, could not have been the 25th of December at all, but at the latest could have been the end of October.
Definitely, and I feel like a lot of you listeners, if you are listening to us, you are pretty educated when it comes to us, but I had kind of already known a little bit about this, but it was kind of a bombshell to me that fucking it wasn't Christmas. It wasn't the 25th of December. It's kind of insane that even not just Christians, but normal non-religious people celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December, and
Yes.
it might be bullshit, you know?
Well,
You know what I'm saying, Nick?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know how it can be a bombshell, but let me read the next
Yeah,
paragraph.
it's probably not too crazy to you, but...
So, this next paragraph. By the way, last one was from chapter 3, section 1. This next one is also from chapter 3, section 1.
Let's go.
How then did the Romish Church fix on December the 25th as Christmas Day? Long before the 4th century and long before the Christian era itself, a festival was celebrated among the heathen at that precise time of year in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonian queen of heaven. And it may fairly be presumed that in order to consolate the heathen and to swell the number of the nominal adherents of Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. And then I got one more paragraph, also from chapter 3, section 1.
This is a big chapter right here.
Yeah, man, there's a lot. And I'm summarizing as best I can. The Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in pagan Rome and pagan Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was the palm tree. In Rome, it was the fir. The palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal Tamar. The fir referring to him as Baal Berith, the mother of Adonis, the sun god, and great mediatorial divinity. It was mystically said to have been changed into a tree, and when in that state to have been brought forth her divine son. If the mother was a tree, the son must have been recognized as the man, the branch. And this entirely accounts for the putting of the Yule log into the fire on Christmas Eve and the appearance of the Christmas tree the next morning.
You know, what's one dope thing about podcasts is I feel like I got to throw a little personal experience with the Christmas tree.
Let's go.
And I grew up a Christian. Not going to say I'm a Christian now, but I grew up a Christian. And one of my best friends in elementary, middle school, their family, you know, I don't want to be rude. I would say they're more educated. Anyway, their mom was very smart. And I remember Christmas time was coming around. And I was talking about, you know, the presents I'm going to open up, how I'm so hyped. And she told me that Christmas was pagan. I remember hearing that at a young age and not understanding what the fuck she meant. And now hearing the excerpt you just read and a lot of reading and knowledge and experience since then, there is some decent validity to this, you know?
There is.
And I remember at the time it just being fucking, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? We're going to open up presents, you know? Like, this is a time...
For Jesus.
Exactly. We're going to open up presents for Jesus.
Jesus always taught material things.
Yeah. Welcome to the United States of America. But, man, I just... That just hit home with me, you know?
No doubt. Yeah, no. I appreciate that.
Probably hit home with some of y'all, too.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we are going to get even deeper into this as the month goes on.
Okay.
No doubt.
Let's fucking do it, dude.
This is just the start. But
yeah.
That being said, you know, I got a Christmas tree. Christmas is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Christmas is a good time. I'm not going to shit on Christmas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there may be some origins to that we don't really talk about.
Maybe I need to put some Babylonian gods on there. I don't know.
Yeah, have like a Babylonian god fucking topper.
I'll keep the Star Wars stuff on there.
Yeah, Star Wars can stay on there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting how it's been around.
Definitely. Than we imagine.
Then Christ supposedly walked the earth. It was around before that.
It's definitely not now, but it was a mindfuck for me a while ago. just a closed-minded, retarded teenager.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Even before that, but
yeah, it's a bombshell, dude.
Mm-hmm. I love that word, by the way. Bombshell. Such a great fucking word. Yeah.
Bombshell. So, yeah, now, all right, so we talked about the Trinity. We talked about Christmas. Let's talk about Easter.
Oh, yeah. We got another one to go in here.
Big one. Okay.
Let's do it.
What means the term Easter itself? It is not a Christian name. It bears
You're good.
It bears its Chaldean origin on its very forehead. Easter is nothing else than Esther, one of the titles of Beltis, the Queen of Heaven, whose name is pronounced by the people Nineveh, was evidently identical with that now in common use in this country. The name is found by Layard on the Assyrian monuments in Ishtar. That's from 2 Babylons, chapter 3, section 2. An egg of wondrous size is said to have fallen from heaven into the river Euphrates. The fishes rolled it to the bank, where the doves, having settled upon it and hatched it out, came Venus, who afterward was called the Syrian goddess. That is Astarte. Hence, I feel like I've been saying that wrong the whole time. I've been saying Astarte. Sorry, I've been butchering that the whole time. Astarte. Hence, the egg became one of the symbols of Astarte or Easter, and accordingly, in Cyprus, one of the chosen seats of the worship of Venus or Astarte, the egg of wondrous size was represented on a grand scale. The occult meaning of this mystic egg of Astarte in one of its aspects, for it had a twofold significance, had reference to the ark during the time of the flood, in which the whole human race were shut up as a chick enclosed in the egg before it is hatched. That's from 2 Babylons, chapter 3, section 2.
Respect on you for having the references there.
I had to, man. This is so dense of a subject, and tried to summarize. I tried to grab clips as best I could that went to the subject well. So, basically, he's talking about how Easter tied to Babylonian and Roman religions and their pagan ceremonies.
Definitely.
In a nutshell, that's what he's talking about.
How many more sections? You got one more section to go through, or a couple more?
I think I have
You got a couple more.
2. I think.
Okay.
I have 2.
I'll come in one more time. How earlier I made the connection between Isis and Osiris and biblical Bible interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
I have another connection here between Ninus, that's how I believe you say his name, and Nimrod from the Bible. So just a small background on both of the characters. We'll start with Ninus. Ninus, according to Greek historians, writing in the Hellenistic period and later, was the founder of Nineveh, aka the city of Ninus. That is the ancient capital of Assyria. Now to talk just a tiny bit about Nimrod, trying to keep this short for y'all. Nimrod is a biblical figure mentioned in the book of Genesis and the books of Chronicles. The son of Cush, that is Cush, and therefore a great... I didn't want to say that because of weed. That's why I tried to avoid that. It is Cush, huh? Okay.
I think in my biblical studies. Cush.
Yeah. And therefore a great-grandson of Noah. Nimrod was described as the king in the land of Shinar, which is lower Mesopotamia. Man, you got me on this one. You got me. No. I like to hear it
with the pronunciation.
No, I like to hear it. We'd rather the viewers hear the correct. Right. No, we'd rather have the viewers hear the correct.
Now that I corrected you, I feel like someone's going to come back and be like,
it's this.
Right. You're retarded.
Yeah, no, it's this.
Anyways,
which is lower Mesopotamia, which we know is Iraq. I touched on that last episode, but that's kind of the area where we're in right now. And Now, if we're going to make a connection like I did with Isis and Osiris before, we're going to make a Ninus and Nimrod connection. This is according to the amazing Bible timeline with world history. We will have it linked below, like usual.
Sounds important.
Yeah. King Ninus was first associated with the biblical mighty warrior Nimrod in literature entitled Recognitions. Recent interpretations of Genesis 10 in the Bible states that Nimrod, who established the city of Nineveh, when translated, the word literally means the habitation of Ninus. So, is it possible that Ninus is Nimrod, along with that Ninus had the same leadership attributes that is of the biblical Nimrod?
That's interesting.
I thought it was interesting.
I want to add something on that.
Let's do it, dude. Add it.
Nimrod, in the Bible, the name Nimrod is not his name. It's a title, and we never know his real name.
Dude, this is why you make such good.
So maybe that's his real name. Maybe it's Ninus.
Maybe Ninus is Ninus.
Dude, that's cool. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was a good thing to throw in for y'all. Once again, I don't know, but check the resources down below and make your own version of it. But I find it quite compelling.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, dude.
No, that's awesome. I like that note. Yeah, because we never know. We just know the title Nimrod.
Exactly.
Like, it's a saying that it's kind of
dumb,
old now, but if you call someone a Nimrod, it's just a title. Mm-hmm. So we never know his real name. That's cool.
Like, you've definitely heard it before. Like, if you call someone a Nimrod, you're calling them dumb.
Dumb and stubborn.
I feel like stubborn. Yeah, maybe that's a better way to describe it. But
dumb and stubborn. And stubborn.
And maybe with these Isis and Osiris connections, and these Nimrod and Nisus connections, and then the Christmas and Easter connections that Red went over, like.
And then Nimrod was the one who supposedly made the Tower of Babel. He was in charge of it. So,
dude, it never fucking ends.
Man, that's cool. Thanks for that, man.
I'm happy I was able to find that for y'all. I mean, it's not super hard to find, but if you fucking look for it, you can kind of find it,
No doubt. Okay, guys. I'm going to move on to the next one because I know we're going kind of long, and we've got a lot more stuff.
Yeah, you got this to cover. I got one thing more to cover, and
you might hit me with one.
Yep.
Throw hammer.
I think you will find this quite fascinating, folks.
So, this next section here, papacy and paganism. There were two ways in which Dagon was anciently represented. The one was when he was depicted as half man, half fish, the upper part being entirely human, the under part ending in the tail of a fish. The other was when, to use the words of Laird, the head of the fish formed a mitre above that of the man, while its scaly fan-like tail fell as a cloak behind, leaving the human limbs and feet exposed. Of Dagon in this form, Laird gives a representation in his last work, and no one who examines his mitre and compares it with the Pope's as given in Eliot's Hero can doubt for a moment that from that and no other source has the pontifical mitre been derived. The gaping jaws of the fish surmounting the head of the man at Nineveh are the unmistakable counterpart of the horns of the Pope's mitre at Rome. Thus was it in the East and at least 500 years before the Christian era. This is from the 2 Babylons chapter 6. Now, I know a lot of that was hard to understand. And if you have the book or if you Google the book, there are some pictures. But for anyone who is conspiratorial and maybe familiar with these things, you might have heard something similar to what I'm about to break down, which is what he just said. So, if you are familiar with the Pope and his hat that he wears, he wears a hat, a specific hat. Now, if he were to turn sideways,
Yeah, if you were to look
and
at
you
me,
were to see his hat sideways, you will see the point that it comes to kind of looks like the mouth of a fish.
it resembles a fish. Yes.
Now, that and what Hislop is saying here is the same hat, the same attire
Of
that
Dagon.
the priests of Dagon wore, representing them to be half fish, half man. Which he breaks down more in the chapter. I just took a paragraph apart and I'm, but that's what's happening here. So it gives a good explanation for the weird hat of the Pope. I got one more chapter on this, or
Okay.
one more paragraph.
I'll have
on
a
this.
little bit to add on after you.
Okay, cool. One more paragraph. Let me read this. But there is another symbol of the Pope's power which must not be overlooked, and that is the pontifical. Oh, no. I'm sorry. This is the next one. So if you have one on Dagon, go ahead, and then I'll go.
The only thing that I did want to throw in, because I had a little bit about him, but you covered that. I have a quote from the Bible that not necessarily is about Dagon, but that references Dagon. And this has to deal with Samson. I'm assuming a good amount of you know about Samson, but this is Judges 16:23. Then the lords of the Philistines, did I nail that?
Yeah, bring it. The Philistines.
The Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto their Dagon, their God, and to rejoice, for they said, O God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, unto our hand. And we know that Samson fucking destroyed that shit and fucking
no doubt.
and fuck that shit up. But if we are to take that literally, that Samson was in a like Dagon fucking structure, you know,
Yeah.
like he was pulling down fucking
Yeah, so
Dagon
he was
structure.
in a Dagon temple.
if we'd like to infer, yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the story. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, once again, that's Judges 16:23. If you would like to look it up, that's
So it was like
yeah.
the Dagon priests and the
Some OP
the
Dagon
biblical
followers.
guys, like the Dagon, the pagans had him enslaved in their temple,
Mhm.
and then he pulled it apart and just crushed the whole temple.
Yeah, dude. Literally.
That's pretty cool. That's insane.
I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I like that.
But man, especially too, like I don't
So
really
that was the god of the Philistines. Was Dagon?
was Dagon. Yes, he was the god of the Philistines. Just a little sentence,
Okay.
I guess, just to clarify this. This is coming from the New World Encyclopedia. Gotta love the New World. But
Yeah.
Dagon was an ancient Northwest Semitic god worshipped by the early Amorites and by the people of Elba and Agarit. He was also a major god, perhaps the chief god of the biblical Philistines. And that is according to, once again, the New World Encyclopedia. But
Interesting.
Other
it makes
sources-
me wonder if they were
yeah.
they relied heavily on fish.
I guess
Did they have a lot of
I guess I didn't find anything on fish, but just to continue on with this
It
article
just makes
a
me
little bit.
assume that.
Yeah, mythological sources on Dagon are far from consistent, so
Okay.
maybe that's kind of an issue there. The prevailing view today is that Dagon was a fertility deity that related to grain and agriculture. So that's another fertility connection.
But he's a
Although others
Okay.
regard him as a type of merman figure or fish deity that the sea people's most popular images of him portray Dagon today.
fish. To me, that makes more sense.
I kind of want to agree with you there.
It's merman.
He's
Aquaman.
He's the OG
He's
Aquaman.
Poseidon.
Yeah.
It's Poseidon, bro.
And like I said, in the biblical story of Samson, the Temple of Dagon, which the Hebrew hero pulled down in his final act of his drama.
To me, if I'm going to be a pagan, that other one has to do with agriculture and shit.
Yeah.
To me, those are people that, like...
are just naysayers.
No, to them, like, they want to pretend like early people are dumb. And they just connect things. And they want to pretend like they're stupid.
Hey,
and I don't think they were.
Nick, I totally agree with you.
You know what
but
I'm saying?
I just like to have both sides.
No,
you know?
I like
Yeah.
it. I like
Yeah.
that you say that.
You know?
I like that you bring all the facts. Yeah, I want the facts. Yeah, to me, but those scholars that say that, it's like...
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude.
They want to act like these early people that they had the same brain capacity we have.
Yeah.
You know,
We just have more advancements.
no way they were making that dumb connection.
True.
Okay, maybe there's a chance.
Hey,
they did.
there is a chance.
I find it small
but
though. I think
I agree with you,
I think
Red.
the other explanation is better though.
with the whole fish god.
I think
and
that's a better explanation.
the fish,
for sure.
or not just fish god, but just fish deity. I'm not gonna say the fucker's a god, but it seems like it to me, you know.
Makes more sense to me.
And obviously, once again, make your own fucking opinion about it. You know, there's a million different explanations, but
there's so much information.
that I do agree with you though that I find that the most like plausible to me.
Makes the most sense. He's a fish god.
Yeah, to me.
And they were, the fishermen probably prayed to him, right?
Dude, I would imagine like Dagon just shows up. Just,
no doubt.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next part of this section.
Let's do it, dude. Let's fucking
All right,
do it.
this is from 2 Babylon chapter 6 as well.
Okay.
Read this paragraph. But there is another symbol of the Pope's power which must not be overlooked, and that is the pontifical crossair. Whence came the crossair? To answer to this, in the first place, is that the Pope stole it from the Roman augur. As the Roman augur was distinguished by his crooked rod, so the Chaldean soothsayers and priests, in the performance of their magic rites, were generally equipped with a crook or crossair. The magic crook can be traced up directly to the first king of Babylon, that is Nimrod, who, as stated by Berosus, was the first that bore the title of a shepherd king. Now, if you saw this crossair, it's a short staff that has a crook on the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of curve, a hook to it, and it's depicted in murals in Egypt and Babylon long before the Pope ever held such a thing.
Yeah, that's the big what the fuck.
So he's got a solid argument, I feel like, here. It's been around. The priest,
What, essentially saying it's a pagan spear, huh?
a pagan
Originated?
magical, like it's just a pagan thing, basically. A pagan relic. I don't know.
Yeah, relic. I think that's the way to say it right there. A
It
pagan
may be.
relic.
Used in ceremonial magic.
Used to be OP, maybe lost some of the power. It used to have,
now
I
the
feel
Pope,
like.
now the Pope has it, and it's supposedly Christian, but it's not. It's just not Christian.
No.
So yeah, that was the last detail I had on this section. And
Okay. You got another
couldn't
section to go over here?
I got one last section. It's
Okay.
long. One last thing I couldn't find here in this section, I know I had found it before, was about that same symbol being used for the god Tammuz. So I might as well just use this now.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it good.
Let's fucking do it right now, man. We're pulling out the fucking Bible right here.
So
For y'all fuckers.
and if you do
know?
read the book, he talks about the god Tammuz a lot, and there's tons of connections made to the god Tammuz.
By the way, one thing before I let you go on here, there is information online about Tammuz, and you can probably find what Red's gonna talk about here, but
Oh, definitely.
it was kind of tough for me to find this this shit about Tamu.
It was kind of tough for me to find the
You can
Tammuz
relate, right?
stuff that I really wanted to find.
Yeah.
But here we go. He's mentioned in the Bible. In Ezekiel chapter 8, I'm going to read starting in, was it 13?
I believe this is what, 8:13 of Ezekiel.
I'm going to start at 13.
Okay. Yeah, this is 8:13 of Ezekiel in the Bible.
He said unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. That he brought me to the door to the gate of the Lord, to the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. So,
Damn.
in Ezekiel, it mentions the god Tammuz, which, if you read the book, Alexander Hislop brings up a lot. And I wanted to bring as a side note that through this book, it is often talked about the god Tammuz, and that the cross is first associated with the god Tammuz. Which may or may not be true. I couldn't find enough information to know.
That's one thing Red was telling me about too, like looking into the staff of Tammuz, however you want to say it. It was like kind of tough to find info about it. Is it hidden? Are we being silenced? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was another thing. That same staff, that one that has
with the curved bill.
Supposedly, the priest of Tammuz used a staff like that, but I couldn't find enough information on that to know.
Yeah.
But also, even bigger, is that supposedly the cross worship was originally associated with the worship of Tammuz long before Jesus was ever alive.
Which is fucking crazy, dude.
I couldn't find enough connections to tell you. I couldn't find enough information to say it's not true, and I couldn't find enough information to tell you that it is true. I did find enough information to say for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that the use of the cross in worship and worship of the cross symbol has been around much longer
than Christianity.
So that much is true. Whether or not it is for sure associated with Tammuz, I could not find. I wish I could find some definitive proof, but I couldn't. But it definitely has been around much longer.
Regardless, that is a crazy insight, man.
Yeah, and especially in Egypt, the worship of the cross was around, as well as the Trinity, which are two connections that are so together, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
they're kind of one-to-one, especially with Christianity, with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Like, I guess I've been completely overusing this word, but that is a fucking bombshell on, just a boom on just Christianity. And not only that, I don't want to fucking disrespect any persons that follow Christianity, but there definitely is some insights that can be made that connect to other things this, So it's a cool insight.
I'm totally with you. Thanks for agreeing.
Once again, my little retard brain, like it makes a lot of sense to me, but
I think it does.
It's hard to say, man. It is hard to say.
With that, I think we covered it good. Let's move on to the last and final section.
Little segue, the final chapter.
Because I know we've been kind of long here. This is a big one.
I think it's needed though.
Yeah, definitely to cover it.
Justly.
Yeah, to give it justice. Absolutely. Thanks. So this last section, Babylon the Great. Starting this with a quote from Revelation 17:5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
What a title, man.
Had to start with that.
Yeah, what a fucking title.
So, I'm going to read some of this. The reader has seen how complete and perfect is the copy of the old Babylonian paganism, which under the patronage of the popes has been introduced into the Roman Church. He has seen that he has seen that the God whom the papacy worships as the Son of the Highest is not only, in spite of a divine command, worshipped under the form of an image made as in the days of an avowed paganism, by art and man's device, but that attributes are ascribed to him which are the very opposite of those of which belong to the merciful Savior, but which attributes are precisely those which were ascribed to Moloch, the fire god, or Allah Mahozim, the god of fortifications.
Dude, we have Moloch there.
Man. Sorry, this is tough to read.
I don't want to just pinpoint that paragraph, which was very dense on Moloch.
Part of why I picked this paragraph is because of that.
Yeah, we have Moloch here, which we have involved with other conspiracies.
The Bohemian Grove.
Exactly. We have Moloch. Some interpretations have him as the bull god. We have others that say that it's the owl god. Moloch that's pretty top tier, man.
Interesting.
You know?
Not a big connection, but
yeah,
it's an interesting one.
I feel like it's kind of a big connection, dude.
I think the only connection here that we have is that it's all evil.
Maybe to your point, maybe more recency biases with the whole Bohemian Grove. If you haven't watched or listened to our episode or know about the Bohemian Grove, just the whole idea of the Moloch, the owl god, and sacrificing things to him, mostly effigies of a child or whatever. But man, that's fucking crazy. I didn't find anything about that.
It was just a passing reference, and the only real reference is that they're pagan. But it was cool.
Man.
I wanted to touch on it because of that.
Yeah,
okay,
it's fucking cool, man.
No doubt. All right, I'm gonna read some.
Okay, back on track.
The tough reading. I'm gonna do my best, guys. He has seen that about the very time when the Bishop of Rome was invested with the pagan title of Pontifex, the Savior began to be called Ichthys, or the fish, thereby identifying him with Dagon, or the fish god, and that ever since, advancing step by step as circumstances would permit, what has gone under the name of the worship of Christ has just been the worship of the same Babylonian divinity, with all its rites and prompts and ceremonies precisely as in ancient Babylon. Lastly, he has seen that the sovereign pontiff of the so-called Christian Church of Rome has so wrought out the title bestowed upon him in the end of the 4th century, as to be now dignified as for centuries he has been with the very names of blasphemy originally bestowed on the old Babylonian pontiffs. This is from the 2 Babylons, chapter 7, section 2. Now,
by the way, I love how you're including the fucking where it's at, man.
Thanks, man. I'm trying. So, I thought what was cool about that is he's talking about the fish god Dagon being reused as Christ, which, if you have ever seen anybody with a fish bumper sticker representing Christ, you now can see the reference being to the fish god Dagon.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I feel like Dagon's got to be OP, dude. Like, he's fucking broken.
Yeah, dude, he was important. He was fucking important.
He was fucking important, dude.
Man, to them, fish was life. So, yeah, it's easy to see how, like, the worship of that fish god carried on and was just kind of merged in with Christ.
Definitely. It is a super fucking cool insight to me. Like, I mean, I feel like I always, in a lot of these podcasts, I kind of say how I am just fucking stupid. I didn't know who Dagon was until Red fucking told me about him.
And no, he's an OG
dude,
way back.
He is an OG.
He's been killing it.
And I hope some of y'all didn't know either. Maybe making myself feel a little bit better about me. But man, like, what an insight.
No, man, I thought that was a cool one.
I
appreciate it.
Red, that was a really good one, man.
All right, I'm going to hit you guys with the last paragraph
All right.
on this.
Final sayings right here, guys. Clear the throat.
If anyone can prove that the Pope does not assume all the prerogatives and bear substantially all the blasphemous titles of that Babylonian beast that had the wound by a sword and did live, if it can be shown that the Madonna that has so recently with one consent been set up is not in every essential respect the same as the Chaldean image of the beast, they may indeed afford to despise the threatening contained in these words. But if neither the one nor the other can be proved, and I challenge the strictest scrutiny in regard to both, then everyone within the pale of the papacy may well tremble at such a threatening. Now then, as never before, may the voice of divine and that a voice of the tenderest love be heard sounding from the eternal throne to every adherent of the mystical Babylon. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That is from Two Babylons in the conclusion section.
What a bar, man.
And that last line, he quoted from Revelation.
Yeah, definitely.
So he basically is saying here that he proved the papacy to be the second Babylon that is spoken of in Revelation, and that he challenges anyone to prove it otherwise.
Yeah.
Which I was like, yo, he just threw down the gauntlet and was like, let's go ahead.
Where are the fucking Infinity Stones?
He hopes you do prove him wrong. But man, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not saying the Roman Church is the second Babylon. I don't know. But
of course, we don't know.
It was an interesting book. The way he talked about it was cool. And I think he had some really good knowledge and insights on some things that I think deserve further digging into.
Definitely. Respect, what is his name? Hislop?
Yeah, Alexander Hislop.
Fucking, what a G, man. Just totally ahead of his time, I feel like.
Yeah, man.
Especially being in the later 1800s. Like,
you know, a lot of people wanted to discredit his work, but I think for the time, what he did was amazing. And I think a lot of it is still relevant and should be dug into more. And maybe we find that some of these things aren't as accurate. But I think the truth is important, and we should dig into it.
Definitely.
So, yeah, that's the way I got to wrap it up. You got anything else you want to add?
I got one more thing to throw in.
Do it. Yeah.
Definitely not a crazy insight, but during the listening, when I was listening to his book, he brought up the Kronos, the god Cronus or Kronos.
Okay.
Sometimes it's spelled US and sometimes it's spelled OS. So, and sometimes it's spelled with a K instead of a C. So,
yeah,
who knows what is the right way to say it? But this is just kind of fun for me.
Yeah, throw it out there. Let's hear it.
In ancient Greek religion and mythology, Kronos, or Kronos, that's one with a K, one with a C, was the leader and the youngest of the first generation of the Titans.
Okay.
The defined descendants of the primordial Gaia, a.k.a. Mother Earth, and Uranus, a.k.a. Father Sky. So what I take from that is our planet Uranus named after Cronus?
Interesting.
You know? And some other bullshit I had to throw in.
that was from the wiki, and so is this. He overthrew his father and ruled during the mythological age, the Golden Age. Sorry, kind of stumbled
Mythological?
there. Mythological. My
Okay.
bad. I was messing up there. Until he was overthrown by his son Zeus and the imprisoned in Tartarus.
Yes.
And me and Red were chopping this up before. If you played Halo 2, I bet they got their name of one of the main boss, one of the brutes.
No doubt, yeah.
Tartarus. Like, it's crazy how so many different, people and establishments get their views, names, just inspiration from biblical or paganism or
Yeah, well, that's Greek. That's
just
Greek
ancient
mythology
Greek,
right there.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
The inspiration from previous just things in general. Just they fucking stick along.
It does. Everyone just builds off of something from before it, and I think that is a good tie into how everything that happened in this book and everything that we're talking about, like all the religions just kind of tagged on
They
the
kinda
religion
connect.
before them and just built off of it, merged together, and just kept tagging together, right?
Yeah, dude,
It's the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pissed. I
think
missed-
that's a good. That was a good point there to bring up there and
just a little fucking
throw out there at the end.
Just something to throw out there.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I mispronounced mythological. I don't know why. It was just a mental block.
No
there.
worries. Dude,
you got me with the help. Though.
When I get in some of these readings, dude, and I hit some of the big words, I'm so focused on them that when I go back to another word I know, I chop it up sometimes, and I'm like, shit,
Fuck.
I was overthinking it because
Yeah.
I was trying to hit these words.
Exactly.
I didn't know. Like,
Exactly, dude.
No big deal, man. Don't feel bad.
But
So,
I'm happy I threw that in at the end. Fucking,
I like it, dude.
You got anything
Appreciate
else you want to throw in? Just insights or anything?
No, dude, I'm exhausted on the subject.
I think I'm fucking tapped out.
I'm so tapped out on this one. It was big and deep, and this might be our longest episode.
Dude, this was a fuck. I knew this was gonna be long, but I didn't know it was gonna be this fucking long.
Oh yeah, I hope you guys like it.
Yeah.
Drop us some comments. Let us know more if we appreciate it, and we'd love more
Definitely.
follow-ups and more direction on ways to go in the future. So till next time, I'm Red.
This is Jake.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.